charter member of our Rogues Gallery. Yeah, you guessed it, Ted Stevens of Alaska. He's a convicted felon, but he's actually got a razor-thin lead in his Senate race, which would make him the first convicted felon to win re-election to the Senate, if that happens. Wow, welcome to Alaska, everybody. Gary Tuckman is in Anchorage to help us make a little sense of this. So he's corrupt and they love him anyway, Gary.
Well, here's the deal, Campbell. Ted Stevens faces the possibility of 35 years in prison after being found guilty last week of 7 felonies. But he believes he faces the possibility of 6 more years in the U.S. Senate. Despite the fact that John McCain and Sarah Palin told him not to run for re-election, suggested it appears he might have won. Big celebratory party in downtown Anchorage last night. Ted Stevens was there. He's in front of his Democratic challenger, the mayor of Anchorage, Mark Begich, by 3,300 votes. But there are still about 50,000 absentee and early ballots to count. It could take a couple of weeks, but it looks like Stevens could win. However, Democrats and Republicans in the Senate, many of them say they plan to expel him if he comes in. Takes a 2/3 vote, 67 of 100 senators. There will be at least 56 Democrats in the new Senate. And like I said, Republicans support that effort too. So he could be expelled. And if he is expelled, then there will be a special election in 60 to 90 days here in Alaska to fill his seat. But Stevens says he's innocent, says he hopes the judge overturns the verdict. He plans to appeal. Either way, the sentencing right now is scheduled for February. And here's what Stevens had to say last night.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, your support, and your being here. It means a great deal to Catherine and me and our family, and we're delighted with the results so far, and this, God, will still be that way when it's on November 21st. The last votes will be counted on November 21st.
Now, Campbell, one thing we should point out, you may be wondering why so many Alaskans would vote for a man who is convicted of 7 felony counts. Some of the Republicans told me, though, they were very practical about that. They think maybe he is a felon. However, they don't want a Democrat in that seat. They figure if they vote for him and he's expelled, then there will be another election, and then they'll get another chance to vote for a Republican.
Okay, let me just throw out one crazy possibility here. Might Sarah Palin, who has enjoyed her time on the national stage and may be looking for another way back onto the national stage, might she run in a special election to replace Stevens if he were in fact expelled?
Aha, not such a crazy possibility. She's the most talked about name. And here's the interesting thing. She could have control over her own destiny if she wants to do that, because in the 60 to 90 day period, there has to be a temporary senator named. And Sarah Palin, the governor, would name that temporary senator, and she could, if she wants to, name herself.
All right, I hope we're not like over our brains or like a lack of sleep going a little too crazy with this one, but it wowould be a fun story. Gary Tuckman for us tonight. Gary, as always, thanks. Coming up, our Dana Bash actually